building upstairs in the church. It happened in the fellowship hall, sometimes we call the basement. You could imagine that as the night wore on, Bible study probably began at 6, and around maybe an hour or two later, they started the Bible study. Sometimes in talking to the FBI or talking to a lot of the officials, coroners and those kinds of things, he was invited in. There's a door on the side, on the west side of the church, and then he came in. He was caught immediately the next day in Shelton, North Carolina, because we did have the sophisticated surveillance cameras. So that's how he was easily identified. He came in and asked for the minister, who happened to have been Clemente Pinckney. He was a state senator, 41 years of age, and he had been at the church for 5 years, from 2010 until 2015. And they had round tables there, and he sat there with them. They were reading Mark 4, verse 16, about the sodden earth and those kinds of things. And Myra Thompson, who was one of the Emanuel 9, got her license that night. There were, as I said, there were 12 people. 9 of them died when he opened his 45 Glock. You know, I've done a lot of research. You could imagine him going da 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 da, killing them instantly, all except one. And a lot of persons made comments, what have they done? But you're talking about a group, as Obama says, 12 ordinary citizens who were reading the Bible with their heads down, and the last thing in this world that they would have expected was what happened on that fateful Wednesday night. As I said, there were 9 people. Our entire, with the exception of one, ministerial staff transitioned on that fateful evening. As I said, there was Clemente Pinckney. The oldest person was Susie Jackson, who was 87 years of age. And so many things have been happening. I know their history is backward, but they reminded me I have 15 minutes, so I'm trying to keep, at least trying to anticipate what you would like to know about that fateful evening. Aside from Susie, the youngest one was 26 years old, Tawansa Sanders, and he was an artist, and he was a nephew of Susie, and he tried to help her. The fourth person was probably Daniel Simmons, a 74-year-old assistant minister. He was also transitioned on that evening. There was Sharonda Singleton, who was a life coach at one of our high schools. I already talked about Myra. Then there was DePayne Middleton Doctor, who was also eliminated on that evening. And there was Ethel Lance, who was 70 years old, and she was the church's custodian, and she worked at the city for a number of years. Because of the hurricane, sometimes we have booklets, but planes don't allow you but so much, and so which means that there is information that you can contact us if you want additional information about it. And as I said, about 45 to 50 minutes, he sat and listened to these people and just pulled out his fanny pack, and of course he shot the people, and they died instantly from what I could understand. And so over the next couple of years, next couple of hours, I got a call saying, there's a shooting at your church, and I said, oh my no. And right away I turned on Channel 5, which was a CBS affiliate. And Raphael Jones, who happened to have been the commentator, he spoke. And I could tell, everybody has Monday morning quarterback, but I could tell something was wrong. And he kept talking about the incidents and what has been happening. And all of a sudden, he let it slip that a coroner was there, so we knew that someone had probably been fatally wounded. And my husband came in and he said, oh my goodness, they shot the pastor, they shot Sharonda, they shot Ethel, they shot this one and the other. And so for the rest of the night, of course, no one got any sleep because people were calling from all over the country, knowing that I was at the church on a daily basis, wonder where you were. So then the next day we got all of these areas. Charleston, I think, is an unusual, because right away the mayor, who was there for 40 years, Joe Riley, and the police chief immediately called it a hate crime. So, and then that probably stifled any kind of opposition or any kind of unrest that we have seen in Ferguson and Baltimore and a lot of the other cities. Of course, I always like to say that Charleston dances to the tune of a different drummer. So we find that all of these things did not happen. But I think that the most interesting, and I'm struggling for words, best was that the next day at the bond hearing, when Nadine Collier said, "I forgive you." Those were the resounding words that fell around the nation. And as I travel over around this great country of ours, those are the things that I heard last night at the reception. People just said that tears come into their eyes when they say a lot of these various things. So I think that that went a long way to sustain any type of bad activity that you would happen. And then the very next day, which was the 18th, which was probably a Thursday, I went around to the church. It was a crime scene. There were yellow ribbons, and I said, I'm going, and there was a lot of police cars. I said, I'm going to see how I'm going to be treated by the police. Miss, you cannot go. This is a crime scene. We went at another AME church, and of course, the media from around the nation descended on the church grounds. And for the next couple of days, it was rather trying. But I must say that we did not miss a beat. Church started on that next Sunday, that was Friday. Saturday, the officers met at the county library and church started. The church, as George said, is the oldest AME church south of Baltimore, and its congregation was very large, and each Sunday the church holds about 2,500 people. Because of the incidents, we have been downsized to 1,000. And if there are 1,000 people that want to come, there are 999 wanting to enter the doors each Sunday morning. But being a Christian congregation, we welcome everyone. I sit on the floor if somebody wants to come. And of course, the notables around the nation has been there on a daily basis. I have recorded each and every date. Being a historian, I could remember, let's say January 16th of 2016 on a Sunday morning. We would have Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, Cornel West, the mayor of Baltimore, Stephanie, or Elijah Cummings, the congressman from Maryland, or my own congressman, Jim Clyburn from South Carolina, the governor, Nikki Haley, or Tim Scott, or you just name them. On a day when we are having meetings in the office, here would come Chris Christie, Ben Carson, you just name it. The world has ascended to our feet. But we have decided as a congregation, and even though I do not speak for everyone, forgiveness is a process. We are still in the process of forgiving. But then as I speak to hundreds of students from around this great nation of ours, I too have to remember that I now practice what I have prayed. Father, forgive.